Welcome to Same Cast Different Day podcast. I'm your host Martel Rowland, and thank you all for tuning in to this episode. So we are only 2 days into the new year, and it's already been so much shenanigans going on. We don't have Mitch McConnell basically deny Americans of relief money, and he feels that $600 is justice for whatever it is that he thinks his cause is, which is basically that $600 is nothing. Um, what was Bernie Sanders when he was on the floor? I believe that Friday on New Year's Day when, sorry, when they were debating, he had brought a lot of things to the attention that like back in 2018 under the same bill that the Republicans passed, like Mitch McConnell and all these other people that they had passed. It was a tax bill that gave, a lot of these businessmen tax cuts where they paid less. Well, actually, they didn't pay any taxes at all, as far as the business wise. Like, one of the examples he had made was actually, so the Washington Post, who owns the guy who basically, Washington Post is the same guy who owns Amazon. And that guy wrote basically had an article wrote saying that the $2,000 was unnecessary and I believe it was like a waste of time, waste of money. I believe, and don't really quote me on that, but I believe that's what Bernie Sanders was saying. And that same person in 2018, his company Amazon paid no money, and this got paid no money in taxes, zero, but received a what they call it is like a tax reimbursement, some type of basically reimbursement from the government, which we don't know what it was for. And that same company received $128 million in federal money. And then there's this another company where that company also paid no taxes in 2018, and yet that company got back $189 million. So for Mitch McConnell saying, this is socialism for, rich people, it's not true. Like, there are people out there that are really hurting. You think about some of these people who are making 350 some thousand a year, probably are small owned business owners who businesses are probably closed or not operating at full capacity and cannot afford to operate right now, which means they're not making money either and are struggling also. Just because somebody making $350,000 a year doesn't mean they have that much money sitting in the bank. Um, so, and that was one of the things that had got to me when he was explaining these things, and they feel like $2,000 was just too much to give the American people. Oh, it's gonna cost us so much money to give the American people who are out here struggling $2,000, and but yet we could give hundreds of millions of dollars to big corporations who don't really need the money. And that $189 million and $129 million that you gave to two of those companies are that could have went towards that, the helping the economy and going towards tax help paying for these taxes. And it's crazy that our rich who are making millions, millions and hundred millions and billions of dollars every year are getting away with not paying taxes while middle class working Americans and lower class working Americans are picking up the bill. And it's not fair at all. And it just still bothers me to the fact that he still feel like, well, you know what, $600 is enough when other countries are giving their citizens a lot more money. Some of them are getting monthly checks in the mail during this whole pandemic to keep them afloat, and yet our government just don't care about the American citizens whatsoever, and just basically going to lead them to suffer. And that's what they're doing. They're causing a lot of people to suffer. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine living in places like California and New York and some of these places where the smallest of the smallest apartments cost roughly what, probably $1,000 to $1,500 just probably for a little small studio apartment or whatever. Can you imagine that? And we live in a day and age where you basically need a roommate in order to survive in this world, which is crazy. And yet government feels like, well, there's no need for change. Like there's nothing that they can do about it, which they can, but they just refuse to do anything about it at this point. So yet they feel that sending money overseas is a good solution to helping out our overseas people, but you can't help out your own people, and they're getting paid, still getting paid, some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit and debate on how much we are suffering right now and what they're going to do to help, which is nothing because they haven't done anything to help but help small businesses get loan and paycheck protection program, and then outside of that it's like, what are you really doing? And for those middle class Americans, who are really struggling right now, those people are not eligible for, food stamps and rent assistance and everything else that goes along with that. So it's like, what do you expect people to do? Like, a lot of these people need this money and they need way more than $600. I mean, $600 don't even get you anywhere no more. $600 don't even pay rent no more. I don't know what he expect $600 to do. Anyway, moving along. So we are only 2 days into the new year here, and already we have a double homicide already where I live at, and it's just crazy. You would think that with a new year maybe things would calm down, but it's just like because of this whole pandemic, people are out here going crazy. People are not working. People are losing their jobs. So it's like, at what point, what do they do to be able to survive out here? And the people are robbing and shooting and killing. And once again, we have this government that's sitting around not doing anything. Just saying. And I probably should have started with this anyways, but how was everybody New Year? If you've seen this link on Facebook or Instagram, wherever you're seeing it at, please drop down in the comments. How was your New Year's? Because mine went pretty well. I stayed in. Yep, I pretty much stayed in. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't leave the house. I stayed in, had some fun with the family. Um, got a little bit wasted because I think we was up to like 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was so fun and it was so worth it. Um, so yeah, that was pretty much my New Year's, and I also would like to announce the winner of the book, "The Meaning of Mariah Carey." I'm starting recording this too early in the morning. "The Meaning of Mariah Carey." Lauren Ashley was the winner of that. She won via Instagram. So Lauren Ashley, when you hear this, uh, DM the Instagram page or the Facebook page your mailing address, and we'll get that book sent out to you. But I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of Same Cast, Different Day podcast. Um, Please, I want to get this out ahead of time before Georgia's election, because this is one of the examples why we need to get out and vote and get the right people into office who is willing to make the change and do what is necessary for to keep some of these people who are really struggling out here during this pandemic alive, and people who actually care about what's going on with the general public. So Georgia, please make sure y'all go out and vote. Make sure y'all go out and make the right decisions. Um, a lot of what's going on and will happen for the next 4 years is really resting on your shoulders right now. So please make sure y'all get out there and go vote. Like I said, thank you all for listening to this episode of Same Cast Different Day podcast. You can find our podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SCDD Podcast. And you can only find me on Facebook, so I am no longer on Twitter due to Twitter lack of privacy and safety and security. So I'm not on Twitter with a private page on Twitter, but you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Martel Rowland. So thank you all for listening to this episode, and hopefully you listen next week.